Hello and welcome to the mini yin yang fish bowl from the Oswego Public Library. I am going to have a step-by-step of what you need to do to make your fish bowl yin yang little magnetic fish bowl. So when you open your bag, you're going to have a jar. The jar is going to be bigger than this one. Mine is smaller, as well as your magnet will actually be a little bit smaller, so it's kind of the opposite. You will have a toothpick, and then you will have 2 pieces of clay, and it will be different. The colors may vary. So optional, I have in there that if you want, you can add glitter and a little bit of epoxy. So what we're first going to do is when you get your clay out, you kind of want to mold it a little bit and kind of knead it. So it might be a little hard. So you want to go ahead and start pushing it just around just to soften it. So that way when you mold it into your little fishies, it is actually a little bit more easier to play with. I have on there, optional is glitter. I have a little bit of glitter that I'm gonna end up sprinkling on my table, kind of just because I am going to add a little bit of glitter to my clay to get my fishies a little bit sparkly. So once you have that, you want to open it up your little jar, and when you make your fishes, you're going to want to, you probably have a lot more clay than what you need to. Once you start molding it, we're making sort of the little fishes of coral fish. So they kind of have like a long body, curved. I'm going to take a little piece of clay, mold it to a little, kind of see if I can squeeze it in there. As you can tell, I'm already making this way too big, because you want to make sure that when you make your fish, you have it fit inside your little container. So that way, when you end up crazy gluing them and then closing the lid, you're not end up squishing them, because we will end up baking these at 220 degrees for about 15 minutes. And they're kind of small. We probably will end up having them be maybe 10 minutes. It all just depends on your oven. And so you want to make sure that their bodies, as you can see, I'm already starting to kind of curve it. So that way they kind of form the yin and the yang. So I kind of have the body, as you can see, I can close it. They kind of fit. So I'm going to kind of take them out. And so now that I know the curve of them and they fit, I'm going to add a little bit of some fins. So I want to just grab like a really small piece and add it to like to make it a little fin that sticks out. Grab another little piece. And again, I will end up, if you stop by the library, you can see I will have the little display out. I'm going to kind of fit that in there with the, nope, I'm going off camera. With the toothpick, you kind of want to smooth out the edges, so that way when you bake it, it doesn't end up falling off. You don't want your little fins to fall off once you start baking. So either or, you can use your thumb, you can use your fingers. Just take your time in making them. And then I'm probably just gonna flatten out the tail. Make it a little fin. And then I'm just gonna poke a little eyeball in it. Oh, going off. So see, just poke some little holes. Curve my fish in there. Fish has got to have a fin. So I will kind of smush one right on top.
Did you say something?
And then I will go ahead and I will start making the green one. And it probably looks a little bit too big. So I'm going to take it off, make them smaller. And again, you just want to play with the clay. Kind of looks like a baby shark. And then there we go. He kind of seems to fit. So I'm probably going to use a toothpick to kind of poke him out. And then again, I'm going to add his little fins. And take your time. It doesn't matter how long it takes you to make these. I'm going to use, oops, going off camera. Sorry, guys. Use the toothpick to kind of round it out, just because how dinky it is. And hopefully my phone won't go in and out of zoom. And then I'm going to grab another little piece of clay for the other fin on the other side. And it is very small. And then I will go ahead and fix this here. Their little fins. Again, I'm just gonna make a little hole for the eye and dent it in for the eye. I got my little fish. There we go. They fit in there. And then I'm gonna add a little fin on top. So I'm gonna squish them in there. Put the little fin. And then make sure that when I close it, I'm not squishing them 100%. And there we go. Now I'm going to carefully try to take them out. I did kind of smush them in there a little bit completely. Alright, so once you have your fishes 100%, it is time to bake them. And I'm going to go put them in the oven and I will be right back. Alright, we are back and I baked them for, I baked it for about 5 minutes because they're kind of small and his tail fell off. So I kind of just crazy glued it back on. So go ahead and wait the full 15 minutes baking them. I know it seems a little redundant since they're kind of tiny, but we want to make sure that they're completely dry and baked 100%. Just be careful with their tails when you're taking them out. Let them dry for a few minutes and they should be good. So now what it is not included in your kit is a little bit of super glue. So I'm going to get a little bit of super glue. And what I'm going to do now, I'm gluing them. I'm just going to add very little to the bottom. If I have super glue. There it goes. I'm going to add, be very careful with your super glue. So I'm going to go ahead and put him in there. And as you can see, I glued him and his tail kind of sticks out a little bit now. Now I'm going to add a little bit of super glue to this guy, just to the bottom. And then I'm going to have to squeeze them in there. And then there you go. I have a, they're kind of squeezed in there. And then what you want to do is you want to make sure you can kind of still close them up. What also you can do, I wrote on there that optional, you can do a little bit of epoxy. If you want to add a little bit of epoxy to make it look kind of liquidy on the inside, there are different types of epoxy that you can get. You can use Gorilla epoxy, sets in 5 minutes. You take it apart, you mix it together very slowly, and then you can kind of just pour it in there. Another one that they have is a Hildy and Joe. It's a resin, but this one's a UV. So unless you have a UV lamp to cure it, it just depends which epoxy you want to use. I'm going to put those aside. So I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of epoxy into my little tank here. And so I'm going to slowly start pouring the resin in, because that's what this type of resin is, just to give them a consistency of as if they're in water. And I'm gonna tap it a little bit just so that way the resin can go into every single little nook and cranny. And then I have a little bit of glitter that I'm going to add because I love glitter. So I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit of blue right on top. I'm not gonna get crazy with it because then I'm not gonna be able to see my fish. And then you wanna wait a little bit to go ahead and make sure this cures. So I'm gonna put this under my UV lamp because the one that I'm using is the UV resin. Again, it depends whether you do the UV or if you just use a regular epoxy that sets in 5 minutes. Just be careful on what surface you get that on. You don't want to get that on any of the surfaces because it dries pretty clear. So let's, we're going to pause for just a second and we'll be back. All right, we are back, and I went ahead and if you can see, you can kind of tell a little bit of the resin. His fin is kind of sticking out a little bit from there. Added a little bit of glitter. I let the resin dry under the UV. So now what I'm going to do is just gonna seal them in there and close it up. And there we go. And then also now, again, using the super glue, have some at home, I want to go ahead and I want to glue this magnetic to the back. So I'm going to add some super glue to the back. Always close it up. Super glue. Not. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and add a little dab and put the magnetic strip or the magnetic circle on the back. We're going to make sure that this dries. Don't add so much because when you turn it upside down and if it's still not dry, the super glue, it'll start coming down, and then you'll have your magnet stuck to whatever surface that you have. So we want to make sure that we wait a little bit for that to dry, and once that is dry, then you have your magnetic mini yin yang fishbowl. Thank you for following along or watching this video. Make sure you hit the like button, and if you have created one of your own, make sure you post it at hashtag YAODPLOD. Oh dear. All right, let's see. OPLD. It's on your paper. For the Oswego Public Library District. Make sure you tag us. We'd love to see your stuff. And I hope you enjoyed watching and creating as well. If you want to see the mini yin yang fishbowl, you can stop by the library where you picked it up, and it'll be on display right next to it. Just make sure that this all dries, make sure everything dries, and 2 thumbs up or 1 thumbs up, either or. Thanks for watching.